Are you the protectors of this world?
Yes, we are.
Your planet is now marked for death.
This week on Talking About the Movies, the Fantastic Four have not had the best film treatment pretty much since the beginning that a studio tried to do this, but who knows, maybe the fifth time is the charm, and there's only one studio out there that has the potential to save them. Disney and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Do they succeed? We'll take a look at the Fantastic Four first steps to find out, plus...
I wouldn't even know where to start.
Let them see the happy I fell in love with.
Come on, you gotta do it, Dad.
All right, let's go. Go get him, Dad. How about the jig? I know how to do it, Dad. Let's go.
Oh, Dad, I got this.
What the hell is happening?
I agree. What the hell is indeed happening with this movie? Happy Gilmore is back after nearly 30 years in a sequel that, let's be honest, nobody was really asking for, but we are in a boom of legacy sequels, and judging by movies like this, that boom may become a bust pretty soon. Happy Gilmore 2. It's a double feature this week on Talking About the Movies. And welcome to Talking About the Movies. We're continuing my celebration of 20 years of me covering the biggest new releases of the weekend. And this weekend we've got two big new releases. One you can check out in theaters, and one you can watch from the comfort of your own home. That's assuming if you want to waste 2 hours of your life watching a pointless comedy sequel that has no reason to exist except for name recognition. But we'll save my thoughts on Happy Gilmore 2 for later, but consider that a sneak preview of what I have to say about that film. But let's talk about the biggest thing you can see in theaters this weekend, and that is the Fantastic Four First Steps. You know, Marvel Studios finally gets the rights back to Fantastic Four. You know, after so many years of so many bad movies, will the fifth time be the charm for the Fantastic Four? Now, I know some of you are thinking, fifth time? I know the 2000s movies and the 2015 one, but which one are you talking about? Well, let me explain. Yeah, a lot of people forget that the 1994 Roger Corman produced Fantastic Four movie, even though it was never officially released, has been leaked on YouTube several times, and I watched it for when they first did Marvelous May back in the day, and yeah, it's not great, but let me put it this way. It's the Smurfs and the Magic Flute of that series. It's a film that is bad, but you can tell that they were at least trying to get these characters right in the first time around, and not every bit of it worked. The budget was a big concerning thing, of course, and it was a film that they kind of got screwed on when they made that film. But I mean, it is what it is. But the 2000s Fantastic Four movies I've talked about in length on Time About the Movies. They're not great movies. They're pretty lackluster. They're really not that great, despite the good talent they have involved in it. They're just not great. They're just not enjoyable movies. They're not fun films. I mean, sometimes the visuals can look pretty cool, but at the same time, it just doesn't work. Four Stick is another one that just doesn't work. I don't think I need to explain to people why that movie is so terrible. It just is that. So now here we are. After all these years, the Marvel Cinematic Universe finally adds in the Fantastic Four, with a cast that includes Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Ebon Moss-Baccarat, and Joseph Quinn as the titular team. And in the film, the Fantastic Four must protect their 1960s-inspired retro-futuristic world from the planet-devouring cosmic being Galactus, played by Ralph Ineson, and he's got assistance from the Silver Surfer, who's played here by Julia Garner, but this is directed by Matt Shankman, who, of course, many of you may know for his work on WandaVision, but he also has done a lot of stuff for FX, specifically It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and even stuff like The Bear, and, you know, but mostly people see his work from WandaVision, and when he was put in as the director, people took to it right away. I mean, it was literally a match made in heaven. This is what originally. People forget that the original Fantastic Four movie that was in development in 20th Century Fox in the 2000s was supposed to be a period piece movie directed by Peyton Reed, who had done another period piece movie at the time, Down with Love, but they didn't. But changes in the script caused him to leave the project, and then we got the Tim Story films in the process, so we're finally getting to see that movie that could have been if that movie had been made with Peyton Reed as the director here. And, you know, you got all these great people involved here. Pedro Pascal as Mr. Fantastic, Vanessa Kirby as Invisible Woman, Susan Storm, Ebon Moss-Baccarat as The Thing, who very much at times is playing like a character on the bear. I mean, the scene that you see in the trailer is all throughout the movie where there's scenes where he's in the kitchen testing out the food and all that. And all you can think to yourself is, yep, that's the guy from the bear, all right. And Joseph Quinn playing Johnny Storm, definitely playing a much different Johnny Storm compared to the smug, so full of himself person like Chris Evans played him in the Tim Story movies. I mean, what's great about this movie is that it feels like this is what would happen if The Incredibles had been a live-action movie and it was a movie based on the Fantastic Four, because the characters in here are acting like a legitimate family. They do all really care about each other. There's no moments in the movie where they go their separate ways or they feel like they're getting overshadowed by one another. Everyone plays their parts very well. Everyone knows their part in this, and it really does feel like they're about as close-knit of a family as you can get here, and that really does play into a lot of the dynamics of why I really enjoyed this movie, because I really did enjoy the hell out of this movie. This did, for the Fantastic Four, what Superman earlier in the month did for Superman. It helped to bring these characters into a new generation, and essentially give us hope for what can be done with these characters in the future. I mean, this is a movie where the characters are played very well by these actors. They really do feel like a close-knit family. They all play their roles very well here, and I really was surprised that a lot of people were very concerned with the casting choices. I thought all of them were very good choices, and they play it very well here. They all really do feel like they all do care for each other. Not everybody's going to have the right answer to everything, and yeah, there's a lot of conflict in this, especially with the big thing with Galactus. They try to go to negotiate with Galactus on his home planet, and essentially they see that, Susan Storm's pregnant, and Galactus says, "Give me your child, and I will keep your world alive," pretty much. And there's this huge conflict where people want them to give up the baby. People want them to give up the baby, which she delivers in space in one of several really gorgeous looking scenes in this movie. But there's this whole conflict about everyone loves the Fantastic Four. Kind of like it's very interesting how this movie and Superman are so alike to one another, and yet they feel so different, because in Superman, you have a similar setup where Superman is beloved mostly for saving the day, but he starts to lose a lot of people when they realize that the second half of his parents' message were not what he's always expected them to be. Like, he never heard the original message, and so when the second half comes in, it's this much more serious serious message, and something that Clark Kent never really was taught about when he was growing up at Smallville. Here, it's kind of similar to that. The first half of the movie, everybody really loves the Fantastic Four. Then they go into space, and then they come back and they basically say, "We negotiated with him, and we just couldn't get anything to work." And he basically said, "Give us your child, and we'll save the Earth." And they said they're not going to do that. And all of a sudden, everybody kind of turns on the Fantastic Four, and it's really interesting, the conflicts in here and how well they're handled here. Like, there is a good conflict in this movie where, you really do start to, because Reed does start to think, maybe we should give up the child, and it's a very complicated situation, because of course he doesn't want to give up his kid, but even he says it in there, it's mathematically sound, it is a really interesting situation on how that plays out in this movie. And it does play out where it works out well enough where they obviously don't go with it, but they do use it as the baby as a major part of the second half of the movie. And yeah, the story overall is really good. I like the fact that everybody in here, has a specific part to play in here. Everyone has a specific purpose for being in here, and they're given their own time in every sense to have a moment in the movie where they get the chance to show what they can do. I mean, we see it with Reed Richards and Susan Storm. They have a great chemistry as a couple. You see the trials and tribulations they have to go through from, having this baby in space, and then, of course, having to figure out what's the right decision to do, how are we going to stop this threat, and, they have to work together on a number of different angles, and you do buy their relationship. You do buy the fact that they have been together for a long time, and you don't really need an origin story. This movie feels very much like Superman, where you don't really need to know what the origin of the Fantastic Four is, because they pretty much say what happens. It's early on, and like a Cliff Notes version of it, which I think works fine in here because everyone already knows the story of the Fantastic Four. We don't really need a full, in-depth story of what happened to these characters when we already know the basic gist of the storyline here. And I like that Evan Moss-Baccarat as the Thing gets a lot of fun, gets a lot of good time in this movie. He plays along with the kids. He has a great little relationship with Natasha Lyonne, which I kind of wish they established a little bit more. And I liked her in this movie. I thought she actually played a very good character opposite Ben Grimm. The one person who really surprised me at how much he commands the movie is Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm. Essentially, he, like I said, he's not the self-absorbed asshole that he was in Fantastic in the Chris Evans, when Chris Evans played him in the Tim Story movies. But no, he feels like he's a character that commits just as much as Reed Richards does. I mean, he's the one that learns the language of the Silver Surfer. He's the one that does more of the research on, how to figure out how to help Reed and everybody save the world and all that. And I like the fact that he does contribute more to the storyline, and it isn't just because he wants the glory and all that. No, he feels like that uncle is the brother to Reed Richards in this. Like, it is legitimately like a family to where the point where him and Ben Grimm are basically the uncles to the kid to the baby in the movie. And the one thing they got right is that Galactus is not a fucking cloud. That's the great thing. But they made Galactus so terrifying and so chilling to watch. You just gotta stand up and applaud that, man. I mean, that's just incredible what they did. Ralph Ineson does a fantastic job as Galactus. Almost doing just as good of a job is Julia Garner as the Silver Surfer. I mean, she really does command the screen when she is on it. I mean, she has a lot of really good scenes. The visual look on her is really good, and there's a great backstory to why she's helping Galactus out, and they did a pretty good job of explaining it without really going too much into detail on it. Again, there's some stuff they could have added a little bit more layers to it per se, but I thought everybody in here played their parts very well here. Paul Walter Hauser is one of those great actors who is rising up and becoming a more well-known name, and he plays the Mole Man in here, and it's a small role, but it's a role that definitely works. Like, he has a lot of fun playing the role, and his character does not feel like it's just there for the sake of being fan service. Like, there was this whole thing about John Malkovich having a big story, was being one of the characters in here. I can't remember who he was supposed to be, but he had a role in this movie that essentially was clipped from the film. Essentially it was clipped from the movie, and they decided not to go with it. Which, when you watch the film in general, it was probably the smart move to go, because I feel like that character could have been an extra layer that really was unnecessary to the storyline in general. But yeah, everybody played their parts very well in this film. The visual look of the film is incredible too. You can tell this movie took a lot of inspiration from old school Disneyland attractions. And, some people have said this is the Tomorrowland movie that Tomorrowland from Brad Bird should have been. And I tend to agree on that. There's definitely a lot of stuff in here where you can tell that Disney Imagineering is already thinking of some ideas of how we can bring this world to the theme parks. Because I feel like that's what's going to happen later on down the road. The cinematography in this movie is fantastic. The cinematographer on this, and it makes sense because this person is really good. Jess Hall is the cinematographer for this movie, and he also did Hot Fuzz. He did Son of Rambo. He's done stuff recently like lesser stuff like Transcendence. I can't believe he did Transcendence. That's high up there with one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. But he's done a lot of work with Matt Shankman in television. He was the cinematographer on WandaVision. He did The Consultant. He did Monarch, Legacy of Monsters. And, gets a chance to shine in this movie. And he does a fantastic job with some shots in this movie. There are some shots in this movie that are so well done. And the visuals look pretty cool, too. Like, there's a great moment where, Sue is on this thing, and Reed's looking at her stomach as she's pregnant, and you get a shot of the baby inside of her stomach. And it looks really cool. Little scenes like that are really nicely done. There's that great scene in space where, Sue's going to have the baby in space, and so they try to get away from her, and they have to figure out how to, bend time and, bend the ship around to get away from the black hole that they put her in, and it leads into a really cool, very well done scene in general. I think there's a lot of great scenes in here where the visuals do look impressive. There are times when the CG can look a little bit rough at times. The baby in the movie when it's CG, it definitely really does feel a little... There are times when that baby does not look real whatsoever, and it's giving, like, the baby from American Sniper a run for its money for one of the least plausible babies you'll ever see in movies in general. But I also kind of thought it was amusing that there's a little bit of Ghostbusters 2 in the plot of this movie as well. Like, I did not expect to see that whatsoever. You got a great musical score by Michael Giacchino. I mean, it's Michael Giacchino. The guy can really do no wrong on that front. It runs at a smooth pace, too. There's never any points where the film feels like it's trying to overstay its welcome. It never feels like they're going overboard. Everything feels legitimately there's a legitimate purpose for being there. There's a sense that there's a reason why this whole thing is happening when it is. And like I said, there's no point where it feels like there's stuff in there that feels like it doesn't need to be there. The stuff they took out beforehand, I think, works in the film's favor. And yeah, it's a really, really well done film. And if you're going to ask me which one is better, Superman or Fantastic Four, I can't really decide, man. I mean, I really love Superman, but I love Fantastic Four just as much. There's nothing wrong with living in a world where both Marvel and DC are making really damn good superhero movies. And especially in a month where you have DC revitalizing Superman for a new generation and seeing most of the world embracing them for that, and seeing what they're doing with the Fantastic Four and Marvel. Marvel needed this more than ever. It's been a rough year for them. Not to say their movies have been bad, but you can just tell that there is a little bit of fatigue starting to show its presence, and I think they're starting to realize it. And I think that with Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four, they're heading back in the right direction again. Now, does that mean they're completely back? I don't know. Let's wait to see what happens with Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. Which, by the way, let's talk about the big thing that everyone wants to look at with this movie, and that is Doctor Doom. There was this whole thing about Robert. Of course, Robert Downey Jr. is going to play Doctor Doom. It's going to be the main focus of the Avengers movies coming out now next Christmas. And everyone was wondering if he was going to show up in this movie, because Doctor Doom is the main villain for the Fantastic Four. There's a scene early on where they're at the United Nations, and of course Doctor Doom's from Latvia, and you see the Latvia table, and nobody is there. And then later on in the movie, when we get to the mid-credit sequence, it's now 4 years later. The baby is now grown up into a little bit of a toddler, and Sue's reading her these books, and then this may be probably one of the best mid-credit sequences they have ever done for the MCU, and I'll explain why. Because it starts off like you would expect a mother and a son to do. The mother's reading a book, Very Hungry Caterpillar. She goes to get another book, and so the second she grabs that book, you start to feel like something is off here. There's like a tonal change that just happens out of the blue, and then slowly but surely she walks in, and then all of a sudden she sees this guy in a green cloak, holding a metal mask, interacting with the kid. And that's Doctor Doom. You don't see Robert Downey Jr., you just see Doctor Doom sitting there with this kid, and you have no idea what the hell's going on. But I'll be honest, I got chills when I saw that. That's a tonal shift movement that actually does work very well. And unlike the last set of MCU movies where we've had these mid-credit sequences where they're introducing all these characters that we know probably are not going to be in any future films, because these movies are not going to be memorable enough for people who want to remember those. And like in Eternals, they introduced all those characters that we have yet to see, especially Mahershala Ali as Blade, which I guess they're still doing, but we've not really heard that much about it since then. But like in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, they introduced Charlize Theron as who was she? Clea the Sorceress, played by Charlize Theron. Like I said, she's introduced. Has never been in anything else since then. They haven't established her in any other project. She hasn't been seen anywhere else. And then, in stuff like, what's another one where they introduce somebody that hasn't really done a whole lot? Like in Thor: Love and Thunder, they have a scene where they introduce Hercules, Brett Zeus's son, in the movie. And he's supposed to be a main character in the next Thor movie. And he's nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found in any other film since then. And it just continues on with these films. Like, they keep introducing all these things, and no movie really has come out since those films in particular to essentially bring everybody in here. is to bring him into these movies and continue the story, but this one, of course, feels like it's legitimately happening because it is happening with Avengers Doomsday. Like, we know that Robert Downey Jr. is going to be Doctor Doom. And I find it kind of interesting because we have Spider-Man Brand New Day coming now before this, because, you know, Avengers Doomsday was supposed to come out in May of 2026, and then it got pushed back to Christmas 2026, so it's going to be very interesting to see how they continue this with Brand New Day. I got this theory. Now, don't quote me on this. I'm not quoting this by any way, shape, or form. This is just guessing on my part of how they're going to play this out. What if Spider-Man Brand New Day has a scene where, you know, Peter Parker mistakes Doctor Doom for Tony Stark? Because remember, Tony Stark is Peter's mentor in these movies. I mean, he's the one who basically got him evolved, got him to the point where he is now. And I feel like they're going to do that with the mid-credit, the mid-credit or post-credit sequence for Spider-Man Brand New Day. Assuming that it will still come out next July. I mean, who knows? They could possibly move it to after Avengers Doomsday, but I think that's what they're going to do here. I think they're going to have a scene where they're going to have a scene where, you know, I'm losing my train of thought here, where Doctor Doom and Peter Parker meet in the post-credit scene for Spider-Man Brand New Day. I think that might happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does. But yeah, it's a thing where, yeah, it's something to just keep a close ear on when you get to the next MCU movie, which won't be for another year now. So, hey, it's a good way to go. They're going on a good and high note for right now. But there is one other thing I want to talk about, and that's not with the movie itself. It's mostly with the trailer for Avatar: Fire and Ash, because there was that big thing where they were promoting that, you know, hey, see this movie and you'll see the Avatar: Fire and Ash trailer before anybody else does. And in fact, they actually had at early screenings, they had screenings where they would literally just show the new trailer for Fire and Ash for 1 full hour. I thought that was kind of interesting to say the least, especially considering that, you know, I mean, they must be really hyping this movie up here to be as big as they hope it will be. But I saw here's the thing with the trailer. At my movie theater I go to, at Cinemark, there's this whole thing where, you know, they show like the newbie commercials, and then they show the previews, and then at the end of the thing, they usually show the movies for the studios that's about to that makes the film that you're about to watch. Like, you'll get like with this, it's a Disney movie, so you get trailers so we got trailers for Tron Ares, and then everyone was expecting to see the Avatar: Fire and Ash trailer, and for some reason they just cut to the Cinemark ads, like the Cinemark ads for, you know, get the movie rewards, like they'll do like the parody of the mobster movies, or the boy and his dog type of movies, that type of stuff, and then they have the Cinemark XD trailer for Downton Abbey, because heaven forbid Downton Abbey is a film that you want to see in Cinemark XD. Says no one ever. I don't think that is the case, but I really was afraid they weren't going to show the trailer, and then all of a sudden, once they showed the Downton Abbey XD thing, there's the trailer. I just thought it was kind of weird, because you don't usually see that happen with movies like that. Like, the trailers usually come before they eventually start the movie at my theater, at Cinemark. I don't know what it's like at other theaters in general, but that's just my personal viewing experience with that film in particular. I thought it was just a really odd situation, but yeah, with Avatar: Fire and Ash, I'll say this: it doesn't look that great. I mean, yeah, the visuals still look impressive, but it's the story that I'm worrying about. And the story just feels like it's more the same thing. It's more the same stuff we've seen before. There's going to be another battle with the humans, because heaven forbid the Na'vi don't have any other enemies they can really go up against besides the humans. But no, we got to have the humans continue to be the main baddies in here. Excuse me, but at least in this one, there are some new baddies that I thought were kind of interesting. The fire people, who are they're called a volcano-dwelling ash people clan. Those people, I thought, were the coolest things about the trailer that I saw. And if there was anything that was going to get me excited for this movie, it was probably them, because it was something new and different. I mean, give us something new and different. Don't just do the same movie over and over and over again. And I'm hoping that's going to be the case, but I don't know. I still have my concerns about that, but at least the fire people were cool to look at here. But yeah, not much more you can really add about Fantastic Four: First Steps. I mean, it's the Fantastic Four movie we've been waiting to see for a long time. I mean, this is the one where they finally got it right, and it's just another example of a studio looking at a long-standing superhero franchise and basically saying, we got to fix this quickly. And lo and behold, they finally got it right with this film. So, needless to say, Fantastic Four first steps in the right direction. Thumbs up, big thumbs up from me. And like I said, it's right there with Superman. I don't really think Superman or Fantastic Four is better than the other. I think they're both on the same wavelength. I really am looking forward to watching both of these movies again in the near future. And again, not much more I can really add to it. Fantastic Four First Steps is pretty friggin' amazing. So, with that said, let's take a quick break, because we've been talking now for nearly 25 minutes now on the Fantastic Four. So, let's talk about Happy Gilmore 2, and we'll delve into Happy Gilmore 2 right after this break. So stick around, because we will be right back. And welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that Fantastic Four First Steps review. Great movie. Now here's a steaming pile of crap. Happy Gilmore 2, the sequel that nobody was asking for, but because of name recognition and because of money, Netflix said, "Here, Adam Sandler, here's all the money in the world. Take whatever you want and make a sequel that nobody was asking for." And this is coming from somebody who loves Happy Gilmore. I love the original Happy Gilmore. I mean, I just recently bought a set of Happy Gilmore socks from Walmart. I mean, I love that movie to death. I mean, some people are a Billy Madison person. I'm a Happy Gilmore person. I mean, that's my favorite of the early Adam Sandler movies. It ended. There was no reason to make another movie, but because we live in this world now where it's not even about legacy sequels anymore, because I mean, after this year, I mean, we're literally on the cusp of the legacy sequel bubble bursting after this year, because, good lord, we've had a lot of them that have not been that good, and a lot of them have been terrible. You get a couple of good ones here and there, but the last couple of years, especially after Top Gun Maverick, was just kind of like, okay, this is going to come to it. This is going to end horribly. And sure enough, here we have Happy Gilmore 2, which is a film that takes place 30 years after the original movie, where Happy Gilmore won his first tour championship, and he's going to have a successful career as a golfer, and, his wife dies. Julie Bowen comes back in this movie briefly. There's your first mistake right there, and, this film... And look, there are people out there who are gonna love this movie. It's got a lot of positive reviews from people that I respect, people that I do listen to. Some of my friends on Facebook, on social media, they seem to like it. I just didn't see it. The plot of this movie is that there is really no plot to this movie. It is literally Happy Gilmore doing Happy Gilmore things. Hey, look, Shooter McGavin is back. Hey, look, we brought back characters from the last movie that are still alive. Ben Stiller is back. Dennis Dugan, who played the head of the PGA, is back. Vern Lundquist, who was the announcer in the original movie, is back. And, let's, instead of just having, one big cameo with Bob Barker from The Price is Right, well, we can't have him in here anymore because, he died not too long ago, and that's also why Chubbs isn't in the movie either. Because, of course, Carl Weathers is no longer with us. But no, let's add in over 70 different cameos that are absolutely, completely, 100% pointless. They are all pointless. Every single one of these is literally just, is like, the golfers, I understand. But they bring in every single person that Adam Sandler has literally worked with. I'm not even kidding. There is literally people in this movie who have no reason to be in this movie. Like, you get your typical staples of Sandler's group. Ben Stiller, of course, was in the original. Steve Buscemi is in here. John Farley, Chris Farley's brother. I believe that's Chris Farley's brother. Of course, you have Jack Giraputo, Robert Smigel, John Lovitz, Rob Schneider, Blake Clark, Dan Patrick. these are people who have worked with Adam Sandler in the past. That's fine and all, but then you get people like Margaret Qualley, Eric Andre, players from the WNBA, you know, Marcelo Hernandez, Eminem, Travis Kelce, Nick Swartzen, you know, Reggie Bush, Becky Lynch. They bring in Stephen A. Smith, Chris Berman, Guy Fieri. They bring in influencers like Alex Early, Tuesday Wilson. I don't even know who. Treasure Wilson. Ken Jennings from Jeopardy. You know, Sean Evans from Hot. It's Hot Ones, right? Yeah, Hot Ones. Like, Sean Evans is in here. Like, why are all these people in here? Why? What purpose do they bring to the story whatsoever? Oh, wait, they don't, because there is no story to tell in this movie. You know what? This is another one of those movies, like with the Smurfs, that is literally a script written by AI, written by ChatGPT, and, you know, they make it seem like, oh, we've been writing this movie for years now. No, you haven't. If you had written this movie for years now, you would have had a much better story than what you had here. There is no story to this movie. There is none at all. This is the prime definition of a sequel that is completely 100% pointless and is only existing because of the money and because of the name recognition. And I'm sorry, it just doesn't work. This thing is even longer than Fantastic Four First Steps is. Fantastic Four First Steps is 114 minutes. This thing is 118 minutes. This is literally 2 hours. Is to quote Gene Siskel, it's 2 hours of your life you're never getting back. I did not laugh one time in this movie. I did not get a sense of enjoyment out of this movie. This whole movie feels like a film that was literally the pilot for the Peacock television series version of Happy Gilmore. Because this does not feel like a legitimate movie. This really does not. Nothing about this film seems like it has any purpose to existing, and it doesn't even feel like a real movie. It really does not feel like this is put out in the same world as the original Happy Gilmore. Like, it does not feel like that whatsoever. I'm telling you, they literally have no reason to make this movie except that it's Adam Sandler, and Adam Sandler this is one of his biggest movies in general, which I feel like if they're once we get Billy Madison 2, which they're probably going to do, it's going to be exactly like this. You know, let's make a ton of references. Let's make jokes that are not really jokes and all that. Like, this movie is unbelievably bad, and look, I love Adam Sandler. I think Adam Sandler is still a very funny guy. There's been a lot of good stuff that he's been in. This is made by people who made Workaholics, a great show on Comedy Central. The same writers who made the original Happy Gilmore involved on here. You cannot tell me that after 30 years, this was the best work you can come up with? Really? Like, I just didn't like it. I really hated this movie. I hated it. I didn't think it was funny. There was nothing clever about it. Everybody seemed like they were just in there to collect a paycheck and just go on with their day. Like, it's a movie where literally nothing of value happens with it. And it was only made, once again, because of the money and because, you know, we need to make this a franchise. And like I said before, we are getting to that point now where this legacy sequel boom that we're in is going to burst pretty quickly because nobody is giving a crap about these movies in general. There have been so many bad, pointless sequels in the last 10 years, at least in the last 10 years. Like, films that have no reason to exist whatsoever. Did we really need a Coming to America sequel? Did we really need a sequel to Hocus Pocus? Did we really need a sequel to Enchanted? Do we need a sequel to Now You See Me? I get a feeling I'm going to see that terrible Now You See Me 3 trailer from now until, with every movie I'm going to see in theaters, until that movie comes out in November. That's how much that series has no value, worth whatsoever. The Fantastic Beasts sequels, for a series that didn't even need to exist in the first place. Like, you know, we're getting Practical Magic 2. We're a couple weeks away from Freaky Friday 2, Freakier Friday. Who is asking for these movies nowadays? And what new are they going to add to this that aren't in the original film? Nothing. Nothing about any of these legacy sequels coming up are worthy of my time because I already know how it's going to turn out. It's not going to be anywhere near as good as the original film. They're talking about doing My Best Friend's Wedding 2. Why? Bend It Like Beckham 2 is apparently getting made now too. Again, why? Why do we have to keep doing this? Why do we have to keep making pointless sequels to have these franchises that are not even going to be released on physical media because, you know, We've had these sequels go to Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu. They've yet to be released on physical media as these 2-movie collections, which could be profitable for the studios, but heaven forbid, we need to keep on this idea that physical media is dying and streaming is the way to go, even though more people would rather have physical media because you keep taking their shit away from them on streaming. Like, do you get the point? Do you get the point that I did not like this movie? I tried to give it the benefit of the doubt. I tried to give it every possible hope to really be a good film and really just completely say, you know what, I'm going to put my prejudices aside, I'm going to go into it with an open mind. I mean, it's got to be something, and there was just literally nothing in this movie of noteworthiness. This is an unbelievably bad movie. This is a terrible film. It's one of the worst things Adam Sandler has ever made, and trust me, that is saying a lot, because he's made some really bad movies. Some we're going to get to on time about the movies in a couple of weeks, in a couple of days on that show. But here, yeah, I really did not like this movie. I was completely disappointed by it. I was completely let down by it. I am probably going to be one of the few people out there that say that this is absolutely horrible. And I'm sorry, I just feel that way. This is one of the worst movies I have seen this year, easily. Like, this is up there with some of the really bad movies we've had. I mean, this is a film that is absolutely horrible in every sense of the word. So yeah, sorry to tell you this, but my thumb is down on this movie. My thumb very much is down on Happy Gilmore 2. So, needless to say, avoid it like the plague. But then again, you're probably gonna like it, and you're probably gonna like it anyway. Because I appear to be one of the few people out there that really did not enjoy this movie. But I can't help it, man. You know, I have that criteria where comedy sequels, the good comedy sequels, 2 to 4 years after the last movie came out. If you're doing it over 10 to 20 years later, you better have a pretty damn good script that can save it. But anyway, that's my rant on Happy Gilmore 2. And needless to say that, yeah, we pretty much have covered all the bases here. We had a good movie with Fantastic Four and a shitty movie in Happy Gilmore 2. And basically that's kind of the sum up of July in general. July was definitely a very mixed bag of a month, but it certainly was better than the month of June. I mean, the best movies that came out were Superman and also Fantastic Four: First Steps. The one great new film that came out in June was Elio, and of course nobody went to go see it. But one can hope that August will turn the tide around, and there are definitely some interesting movies that could turn the tide. I mean, next weekend we've got The Bad Guys 2, sequel to the 2022 DreamWorks animated film. Very curious to see what that's like. I'm hearing a lot of good early word of mouth on that film. But the one I'm really excited to see, of course, is The Naked Gun with Liam Neeson. You know, this is a movie that could return spook comedy to its original form and make us completely forget about the hell that Jason Freeberg and Aaron Seltzer did to the spoof movie genre in the 2000s and 2010s. I mean, the possibilities are endless, and it seems like they're getting the right mindset for how to do a Naked Gun sequel, and hopefully. Because this is technically a legacy sequel. I mean, this is one where it's following the son of Frank Drebin, played by Liam Neeson, and of course Frank Drebin, of course, with Leslie Nielsen in the original film. So here's a chance for the legacy sequel to rebound. Maybe this is one of those ones where it could work really well. I mean, they've got good people on board, from casting to the directing to the producer Seth MacFarlane, who's a big Naked Gun fan. I'm putting the benefit of the doubt on him. I'm hoping that he delivers, because I think they really do they have something here that could be really good. But the only way we'll find out is by taking a look at these movies on the next episode. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much for watching this. If you want to see what I had to say about the Smurfs, check out the video in the corner, and check out the playlist for some of the other videos I've done. We have surpassed 100 episodes. Here's to the next 100 episodes and more. I don't have a thing of wine, but I have a thing of Pepsi right here, so just pretend this is a thing of wine. So, cheers. With that said, we will leave you with a look at movies now available on Blu-ray and DVD and streaming, and I will see you guys next time. So until then, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.